What's up everybody, Joseph Hadaway here. So in today's video, we're gonna take a little bit of a dive into the past. Into my past at least. Into a job that I'm not really proud of, but I did used to work. Now, I've talked about this a little bit before on my own platforms and as well as some other people. Prime example, you can read a post about it right here on Mile High Finance Guy's blog, link in the description. But I spent a year as a subprime predatory loan shark. I'm not proud of that. I'm really not, but it gave me a lot of knowledge on how these places work and how these places work from the inside. And if nothing else, it's given me the opportunity to share this knowledge with you to help you stay away and recognize these predatory lending places, as well as help you if you're already in the predatory payday, subprime, whatever debt spiral, help you escape it, because that's a hard thing, but a very worth it thing to do. So here's what we're gonna do in this video. First up, I'm going to do a very brief overview of my time working subprime lending, what exactly I did, what my role was, some of the products that we sold and the terms of them. In part 2, I'm going to go over the top sales tactics that we were taught to use and how you can recognize them and avoid them. In part 3, if you are already stuck in the high interest, predatory, subprime, payday, whatever lending spiral, I'm going to give you my top tips as a former loan shark on how to get out of that spiral and start improving your finances to get back on track, build wealth, whatever you need to do. And I'm going to go ahead and throw this in here. I have hundreds of stories about my time working subprime lending that I'd be more than happy to talk about. So if you want to hear more of them, make sure to go ahead and subscribe and like the video, because I can pretty much guarantee more videos about this are coming in the future. Now, I'm not going to go into, how I found the job or any sort of thing like that, but no matter what I talk about in this video, just remember that I didn't really know then what I know now. In a lot of ways, what I learned at this job is what set me on my personal finance journey that's kind of led me here to doing this. What I will say though is I worked at a strip mall subprime lending place. And I'm not going to give you the name of it, but just know there are several hundred, maybe even thousands of these across the US. And it doesn't really matter which one I worked for, because in a lot of ways, they're all the exact same thing with a new logo and a new name and slightly different specifications to how they run their business. But in terms of sales tactics, in a lot of ways, even products, interest rates, if you've seen one, you've seen the rest. Now, at the one I worked at, we primarily sold personal loans under $10,000. We occasionally did auto loans, but that was pretty rare. And we also sold insurance products that you could add on to your loan. To give you an example of a few of those, we sold disability insurance that if you were disabled would make the payments on your loan for you and nothing else really. We sold life insurance that if you died would pay off the loan for you and nothing else really. And then we also sold asset insurance that if the asset that you use to collateralize your loan, whether it be your TV, your couch, your car, whatever it may be, if that was lost due to an act of God, the insurance company would pay the lender the face value of that so the loan was still fully collateralized. Does that sound scummy? Does that sound like a scam to you? That's because it was, and it still is, and these places are still allowed to operate. A few of them are even publicly traded, which bothers the heck out of me, but best I can do is tell my story and talk about how you can avoid these places and how you can help others avoid these places. So if our products were so terrible and predatory, how did we draw people in to make the sales of these loans? Well, for the most part, we didn't really have to. Anytime one of these lenders wants to build a new brick and mortar location, they do quite a lot of demographic research on the area first. And they'll almost always select a lower income community where maybe income is a little too low and expenses are too high, so people don't really have the time or the money to save an emergency fund or put money back for larger purposes. Or also in those communities, financial education is severely lacking. So a lot of people don't even know that there are better options out there than the subprime or predatory lending. Along with that, a lot of people in these communities don't have a high enough credit score maybe to get a traditional bank loan that would have a lower interest rate, And I actually was surprised at how often I saw this one, they have a distrust of larger banks. So we would market ourselves as local or, a regional kind of place, and they'd come to us because we weren't a large bank, basically. And I do want to say this is not a knock, and nothing here is meant to be a knock on people in lower income communities. I fully believe the only reason that predatory places like this exist is due to lack of financial education and people having a lack of idea of what the other options are out there. And that's a lot of the reason I make these videos now and do things like this, because I want to spread awareness that there are better options. Back to it though, if all of this sounds absolutely terrible and like a thing a terrible company would do, that's because it is. They are preying on lower income people is all they're doing. Into the sales tactics though, start off with, we weren't selling a product. We weren't selling a loan. We were selling a solution. So if you sat across from me at my desk, I wouldn't say, hey, here's your $5,000 loan at 88% APR that you're going to be paying off for the next 10 years. No, I'd say something like, hey, here's the money you needed to fix your roof so when it rains, the water won't leak in your kid's bedroom. Subtle difference there, but you're not selling the product or the loan, you're selling the solution. Sales tactic number 2, almost all of our applications were taken over the phone. Very, very rarely were they taken in person, and we didn't take them online at all. Why is that? Well, if you're over the phone and you call me and you say, hey, I want to run an application for $2,000, I can run the application, call you back and just say, approved. Come on in when you're ready to sign the paperwork. All it took. We didn't go over terms. We didn't have to. That was it. That was the call. Our only goal there was to get you into the office for 2 reasons. Number 1, people were more likely to sign the documentation with the sunken time fallacy. Kind of the idea, they already got up, maybe even took a day off work, they got dressed, they got ready, they came in, they drove all the way up to where our branch was, and they're sitting across me at my desk. You're already here, you already went through all of this, you might as well take the loan, because why not? But then also, number 2, for a lot of people, they are less likely to say no matter what the product or the term is, if they have to look at the person in their face. If they were going to get all the way up there to tell me no, they were sitting 2 feet across me with a pen in their hand. And a lot of people really, really struggle to do that. Sales tactic number 3, if we really wanted to bring new people in, we'd buy lead sheets from your credit reporting companies like your Equifax and your TransUnion, and we'd say we'd want 100 leads of people living in X zip code who make X number of dollars per year and credit score is above 550. Whatever. And we take those leads and we'd send you a check in the mail for $2,000, $2,500, $3,000, whatever it may be. And then for most people, they open the mail, they open it up, and they've got a check in their hand. And a lot of people, especially if they're in need of the money, are just going to go ahead and cash the check and worry about everything else later. But here's the thing. The moment you sign and cash that check, you agree to the loan terms. No interaction needed with me or any of my coworkers at all. We've got you. That's all it took. And lastly, sales tactic number 4, which I personally believe is the most predatory of the bunch. Let's go back to that first example where you took a $5,000 loan out to fix your roof. Let's say you've been paying diligently on that, you haven't missed a monthly payment, and that outstanding balance is now down to $4,000. Well, then somebody like me would call you and say, hey, you have your payment already on that $5,000 loan, you're doing it right, it's already in your budget, you're used to paying it. What if we reset the loan back to original and you just extend it a little further and I'll cut you a check for that $1,000. So now a lot of people will take that because they get an extra $1,000 in pocket, and you word it as you're already making the payment. Now you're just making it a little longer. Who cares? But in a lot of ways, it was a whole new loan, and that is the main way they keep you trapped. They keep offering you extra money. The only people it's extra money for is for the lender. It's not extra money for you. That $1,000 leads to several $1,000s in straight profit for that predatory lender. Now, all these sales tactics sound super simple, and that's because they are. It took next to nothing to get a new person in and up and running. From the day I started to the day I sold my first loan were only 3-4 weeks apart, and that was enough time to learn the systems too. But it's a super simple process with super scammy sales tactics, and you really got to be on the lookout for these. anytime anyone is trying to sell you anything, because you'll notice a lot of these tactics across several industries. You could use a lot of these exact same methods to sell absolutely anything, predatory, real, whatever it may be. Just be aware of these in every single interaction. And for this last part of the video, I'm going to go in, if you already have payday debt, predatory debt, high interest debt, whatever, how you can escape the debt spiral, because that's how these places keep making money. A customer base of 200, 300 people, they don't really need to keep expanding as long as they can keep that small customer base in continuous debt. So number one, if you already have this kind of debt, or you're already in talks or in touch with one of these types of places, tell them to stop calling you. Tell them to stop soliciting you. Block their number if you have to. There is absolutely no reason to talk to most, if not all, of these people on the phone, because their first mindset is sales. Sometimes some of them can help you if you're a little behind on payment, work out an arrangement, but if you are up to date on your payments and your loan is up to date, there is no reason to talk to them on the phone, because they're just going to try to upsell you on something else. Number two, look at refinancing and consolidation, especially if you have multiple outstanding loans. I know rates are historically high right now, highest most of us have ever seen in our lifetimes, but in most, if not all cases, a high interest rate at a bank is way lower than a low interest rate at a payday lending place. To add on to that, a little bit of personal experience, when I worked predatory lending, I had a great relationship with a lender at a local credit union. He constantly referred to us as free money, because people could come get loans with us, and then he'd give them a call and say, hey, what if we cut your interest rate down? You already got the money in pocket and we'll pay off your old loan. It works, and it works for absolutely everybody. Number three, if you already have the debt, put every extra penny you have toward that debt. Especially with high interest rate debt, if you're making the minimum monthly payments, you're barely touching the principal, if even at all in some cases. So every extra penny you can put toward that is going to reduce the principal and reduce the total amount of interest you owe over the loan, which again is especially important when we're talking sky-high, ridiculous APRs. And number four, encourage others to never step foot in these places or pick up the phone when they call. I can't tell you how many sales I had personally that when I'd ask, how'd you find out about us? Oh, well, my mom has a loan with you, or my cousin, my aunt, my brother, my dad, my uncle, my friend, whatever it may be. We made a lot of money and a lot of sales solely just off word of mouth. So start there, change your family and your friend group's mentality, let them know how predatory and scummy these places are, and what some of the other options out there that are available to them can be, and how much better they can be for them. These subprime predatory lenders are all over the place, and they all rely on the exact same business model: getting you in debt and keeping you in debt in a process called the debt spiral. I wrote a whole blog post on it. You can check it out here, link in the description. But getting out of that debt is a process, and they make sure it's a process, but it's going to be the best thing you can possibly do for yourself, your finances, and your future. If you're stuck in this kind of debt and you don't really see a way out, or you just want to talk your way through it, maybe come up with a payment plan, my email and my socials are in the description of this video. Feel free to reach out. We'll talk absolutely free, no charge, and we'll come up with a custom debt payoff plan just for you. Again, no charge for anything like that. As always, thank you all so much for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe, like the video, follow me on social media, and check back again next Friday for another one. Thanks for watching.